Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us for today's Lunch and Learn. I'm Lauren Anderson with the International Franchise Association, and we have a great 30 minutes lined up for you. Before we begin, I would like to remind everyone that we are recording today's webinar and will make it available later this evening on franchise.org. If you have any questions for today's speakers, please add them to the Q&A box and they will be addressed toward the end. Today's topic is Franchise Profitability Solved: How C-suite leaders drive 100% adoption of financial performance solutions, and it is brought to us by Qvinci. Here to provide today's discussion is Brad Adams, CEO and Chairman of Qvinci, and David Reiner, Franchise Business Coach at Mosquito Joe. Thank you all for joining us today, and thank you to Qvinci for sponsoring today's Lunch and Learn. I'll go ahead and turn things over to you.
Thank you very much, Lauren. I appreciate that. And we have a great schedule for you guys today. And I just want to welcome you and thank David and Mosquito Joe, a neighborly company, for joining us today. And, we want to really show you how elite franchises like Mosquito Joe's and Neighborly are implementing a proven and scalable playbook. And what we really want to do is turn fragmented data into near real-time insights and predictable profits. Okay, and we're going to show you how Qvinci and its patented system is purpose-built for franchises. So let's move into the presenters, and I'd like to introduce our presenter today, David Reiner, Senior Franchise Business Coach of Mosquito Joe's. Dave, why don't you give us a few opening words?
Hey, good afternoon, Brad. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it. Really appreciate the opportunity to talk about Qvinci. It's been really impactful for our business, our franchisees, and love the opportunity to share some of our experiences and best practices with the network at large.
Well, thank you, David. Neighborly is probably the oldest existing customer of Qvinci. You guys have been with Qvinci since the very beginning. And so we hold a very dear place in our heart for Neighborly and Mosquito Joe's. They've been with us back. I think I met Mr. Dwyer back in 2008. So why are we here today? Okay, we're here today, and I'm not going to read word for word. We're just going to go over this. We want to understand the root cause of franchisee resistance. What inspires? What is the root cause why franchisees don't want to do a franchise performance network? We want to minimize franchise or effort in uploading new software. We want to drive franchisee engagement and compliance. We want to automate onboarding, training, and reporting. We want to show you a proven ROI across your network when you adopt the right solution. And we want to show you how to scale seamlessly from 10 to 5,000 plus locations like Neighborly. Okay, and we want to show you this, and we're gonna first talk about the why, and let's go into that. Okay, and I'm gonna bring David here in a minute. Okay, and what we're talking about, why is this so critically important? Okay, and it basically boils down to a few things. The three pillars of franchise performance: the operational challenges, the understanding of financial challenges, and the push-pull dynamic. So let's go into the first one, which is the three pillars of franchise financial performance management. And we have boiled that down, and this comes from a survey, David, of like 700 brands. We did it about a year ago, and it's basically the three pillars. Number one, the data. Number two, coaching franchise owners for performance, and number three, brand compliance and expansion. So, David, why don't you talk to the audience about your take on this larger concept of the three pillars?
Yeah, it's interesting you mention that, right? So we look at the operational problem, and with everything that a franchisor has in their schedule, right? We all run at a time deficit. So spending time chasing down P&Ls is not a good use of time, and using Qvinci has really helped us. It's remove that onerous piece of having to solicit the data from the franchisee who may or may not, have the time, right, to give it to you. So Qvinci really helped eliminate that with the auto syncing and the auto mapping functionality. The other piece we talk about how critical it is that it's easy to understand, right? The data has to be presented in a method that can be understood easily, right? It's easily digested, and that's been a really, really big piece of the success that we've had. And it's also, as far as the owner franchisee performance coaching, that's been a critical piece too. It's really given us, another arrow in our quill when we are working with franchisees. And as you said, earlier about scalability, and I think we'll talk about that a little later, what a critical piece that is. And Qvinci has really been able to help us present this data and really enhance our coaching capabilities with the owners.
Yeah, well, thank you very much, David. I appreciate that. Now we're going to talk about the operational problem here, and this pictorial here is just meant to show, you have all kinds of stakeholders, all kinds of data inputs, and all kind of franchise owners. Okay, and at Qvinci, we try to solve that problem. And David, if you could kind of you mentioned this a minute ago about the operational problem, but now I'd just like you to tell us how did you solve that problem before and after Qvinci?
Well, Brad, as you said before, it was we were lucky that Neighborly, Mosquito Joe were early adopters on this on your platform, and saw the value in it. When I came on board about 4.5, 5 years ago, we were working towards kind of a threshold of getting a majority of our owners synced up on it, and really kind of digging in and understanding what the obstacle was, right? What the operational problem was that we had to overcome. We knew that the syncing capabilities were easy. That's not a hard part of it. Its ability to read across platforms, right? Whether it's QuickBooks Online or using the desktop application. Some of that was a paradigm shift for owners, so making them understand that, it had that capability. For me, what it was is really overcoming a trust gap, right? And really being able to deliver some good financial results and helping the owners understand what they're looking at helps break down those walls, helps build that trust.
All right. Well, thank you, David. I appreciate that. And that's a good segue to the next one, which is we call the traditional financial problem, which is really means, and it boils down to, is your franchise owners aren't finance guys. They're plumbers and they're HVAC people. And they don't really understand traditional financials, but they understand green is good and red we got to talk. So, David, why don't you talk a little bit about how a tool like Qvinci, brings your franchise owners to things they can understand.
Yeah, you made a good point there about the different levels of understanding, right? We know that all franchisees are not created equal, right? Some excel at different parts of their business. Some are more financially in tune than others. The challenge that we face is how do we make this financial data ecumenical? How do we take this and deliver the data in a way that's understandable, it's digestible, and most importantly, actionable for these owners, right? Regardless of their financial literacy. And as you alluded to, the green and the red is kind of a universal symbol, right? Everybody understands, green is go and red is stop, right? It's we need to talk. And be able to have that at our fingertips and have that conversation, and show the owner, say, hey, here's your green, here's your red, really does help quite a bit.
Yeah, thank you. And which brings us to the ultimate, we call it the push-pull paradigm. You take the green and red and you use tools like the KPI scorecard, which will on the push side will help motivate franchise owners to seek you out for help, and the wellness dashboard advisory portal will motivate you to seek out a franchise owner. Talk about how important it is to work collaboratively with your franchise owners.
Yeah, it's absolutely critical. And in a franchise system where there's requirements by the franchisor that the franchisee has to follow, right? And depending on your franchise, providing financial statements on the regular may be one of them. For us, it is a critical piece. It's required. But we don't want to lean on that. We want to lean on the collaborative piece, right? So, I think of it as a health check, right? As going to the doctor, right? Maybe we are, providing them with a pulse on the business, and they're coming to us and saying, "Hey, I saw this was red. What's your take on it? What's your thought on it?" And we can really have a good conversation with that data that's aggregated by Qvinci and distilled in an easily digestible way.
Well, thank you. That's great, Dave. All right, we talked about the why. Now we're going to talk about some of the critical objections of most franchises. Okay, and basically they boil down to two things: how do I get my franchise to adopt it, and how much work will it take me to get it done? So the first thing we're going to look at onboarding, training, support programs, and and why it matters, because if software doesn't drive change, franchisees need help interpreting data. So, David, if you could talk about your experience with the training and support team and how Qvinci's helped you.
Yeah, it's been really good to have the support that Qvinci's provided us. I'll give a shout out to Jenny and Riley, who have been a tremendous help to us, over this past year as we continue to onboard new franchisees and continue to sync up existing franchisees, and really to help them, help us and our team get an understanding of, the workings of Qvinci and how to present. The ability to sync through your syncing tool is an easy part. That's, it takes 5 minutes of somebody's time, maybe 10 minutes if they're more technically challenged, but it's an easy to understand system. And the continuing education from Qvinci, whether it's through your videos on your website, the FAQs, and having our reps available. For example, asked Jenny and Riley to help us out with our reunion last month, and they were very gracious with their time and their information. So we really appreciated that. It's been a great experience.
Great. Well, thank you so much. And I know Jenny and Riley appreciate it too. They had a great time. They said, all right. The next part of this critical part of a franchise is it scalable, and can you customize it? And I'm not going to read this for you, but everyone's going to get a copy of this deck. But talk about how Qvinci has helped Neighborly and Mosquito Go scale and deliver the customization that you need.
Yeah, so from humble beginnings, 13, 14 years ago, Mosquito Joe has scaled up to about 182, 83 owners with 402 locations. It's been a great help in driving that, driving that growth. The other piece, to that is what the customization part, right? And especially for us at this point, Mosquito Joe right now is going through, we've got a lot of major initiatives going into 2026, adding, a whole new service line like termites, upgrading a POS system, a CRM platform. right? And all these events, all these things come at a cost, right? So it's critical for the owners to understand how those changing costs affect their profitability. And we're able to use Qvinci to help tell that story and help them with that change management.
Yeah, well, thank you very much. And then the final thing is, and we'll do this very briefly, and then we'll go into some really good tools. Financial insights everyone can understand and act on, which is the red green paradigm we talked about before. So simple financial insights equals execution. And I'm gonna introduce 5 tools, and I'm gonna ask David to briefly talk about each one of those tools, and then we'll just go through them one at a time and get a brief introduction to them. So the first one is the franchise wellness dashboard. Everyone lands here. It's the green versus red. David, why don't you talk about how you use the franchise wellness dashboard at Mosquito Joe's?
Yeah, this is a great tool as it gives you, a quick overview of, your franchisees and, their P&L. What are their top 10 expenses compared to, previous periods. And it really does allow you to quickly see areas of opportunity for training or intervention. Um, and really provides a good coaching tool, and the ability to look at, hey, here's a red cost of goods. Let's drill down and see what's driving that. Really allows you to get granular if the conversation requires it.
Yeah, with 4 clicks of a mouse, you can go from high level data here to click all the way down to the general ledger if you need to and really investigate it. And you can actually, with the flip of a switch, change to 5 different reporting periods: month to month, quarter to quarter, year to year. So this is the starting point, and this all ties back into the original discussion that we had in the beginning about start the process with the franchise wellness dashboard. Then the next document we're going to look at is the KPI scorecard, and this is a great tool. It's got ranges, it's got entity performance, it's got your trends, it's got benchmarking, and it's green versus red, fine red, fixed red. David, why don't you talk about how you guys have used the KPI scorecard?
Yeah, what I really like about this, Brad, is the ability to see trends, very quickly, and as we said earlier about the red and the green, right? So you got the check mark, you got the X box, the red X, really very quickly at a glance can look and see what a trend is, and by understanding that, you can do your investigation and come back to your owner and say, hey, I think we need to address a couple of items here, right? The ability to see your top 10 expenses at a glance, another critical piece, especially as, our cost of goods grows every year, right? That's a critical piece of staying on top of that. The other piece that's really relevant for Mosquito Joe is understanding the AR, being able to look at AR as our owners, in the peak of the season, they're out spraying for mosquitoes, ticks, and fleas. They're really, focused on delivering that top-notch, white glove service that our customers expect. And, at the end of the season, you do have some AR that you need to address. And this is a great tool to help stay on top of that.
Thank you, David. What David's mentioning is this is a PowerPoint presentation, but this tool actually is a package of the KPI scorecard, the top 10 expenses, AR, AP, cash, year over year income. So it is a great tool. And to tie this back, we talked in the beginning about the push pull. Okay, this is the tool that I mentioned that you can send out. The franchisee looks at and says, hey, I may call David and ask him to give me some help on dental supplies, on temporary salary. Why am I trending negative on that? I could find right, fix red. And a minute ago, we talked about I'll go back, we talked about the franchise wellness dashboard. That's the tool that David will use to say, let me go call up the Bristol Beer Garden and find out why his gross profit margin is down, 8%. So it's that collaborative tools that help achieve the ultimate goal, which is collaboration. And so,
Exactly right, Brad.
Dave, why don't we take a look at the benchmarking and ranking report? And this is a great tool that we have at Qvinci. It's relatively new, but it benchmarks and ranks based upon a lot of different factors here. And tell us a little bit about how you use benchmarking and ranking analysis to help coach your franchise owners for performance.
Yeah, as you mentioned, a newer tool, and we're just digging into this recently. But this is a huge ask of our owners. Owners want to see how they're performing against their peers. That to them is one of the most critical pieces, of data. And as a franchisor, we can supply all kinds of top line metrics and sales and customer retention and our recurring customers. But we've got to drill into Qvinci to really see, how how they stack up, on the expense side, right, on the profitability side against their peers. And that's a critical piece. And as we, talk about, hey, you want a 20% EBITDA goal, right? So, we look in here and, hey, how is Tim able to realize that and I'm not, right? So it does help get some dialogue going with the owner and really helps leverage what I think is one of the really true powerful things about franchising, and that's the relationship between the owners, right? That's the network.
Yeah, this is an amazing tool. It was developed by our founder recently because he had a coffee franchise. That one coffee franchise was making 300,000, the other one was losing 20. So
Wow.
through Benjamin Renbank, he figured out where the guy was what was the best at and the worst at, and was able to figure out why. Because the guy was, and we ended up figuring out he was Federal Expressing cost all the items he needed as opposed to planning.
That'll do it.
Yeah. All right. Well, listen, let's move to the break even and what if analysis is exactly what it is. It's a break even, and you can do a what if analysis and show what would your break even be if I do this. And I'd like you to talk a little bit about how, I don't think you use this much, but tell us about how you think you can use it in the future.
No, I'm Brad, I'm excited about this, and I'll tell you why. When it comes to break evens and what if analysis, we are buried in spreadsheets, right? And we're chasing data, and we're constantly dealing with, a broken formula here or there. I'm excited to dig into this, and especially, as I mentioned earlier, with all the system changes that we have coming, and the costs, the cost differences that the owners are going to experience. We're really going to be able to help them say, hey, if you can realize some savings here, look what it can do for you down the road. And looking at break even, and this is also critical for our newer owners as they come on board, and really making sure, as we onboard new owners, that they are coming to the table, correctly funded, right?
Yeah.
Making sure they've got enough money to get them through that break even point, which, we're finding, is could be 3 to 4 years.
Well, David, we have a break even what if analysis and a cash flow what if analysis. Okay. And, we found at Qvinci, we find that most people just take a big swag and they take big chunks of their financials and say, what if I removed all of this? And we don't think that's a good way of doing things. And if you notice here, when you do the what if, you can take small incremental pieces of each one of your chart of accounts and then do a what if to actual the next month. and see how well you did, as opposed to taking a swag. And all of our what if analysis allows people to take little things like liquor costs. Okay, if I reduce liquor costs by 2%, what is that going to do to my break even? If I reduce a pizza cost by 0.09%, and it allows you to also do that for controllable and non-controllable cost, and really dig down and not make a swag as to a break even or what if, but really dig down to it, and then meet with your franchisee or your franchise owner the next month. So let's see how we did, and we can course correct in very minute details. Find red, fix red. So thank you so much for giving us an explanation of that, and I
I'm
look
excited
forward.
to dig into that one.
Yeah, and here let's go to the next one, which is our entities at risk versus high performers. This is a very new report, and this does exactly what the title says. With the flick of a button, you can look at all your entities at risk based upon them meeting criteria you set up in the filtering. Okay, and then you can switch to high performers, and you can see which one of your entire ecosystem or your high performers based upon the criteria set out by you. And Dave, why don't you talk a little bit about how you think Neighborly can use this tool?
Wow, Brad, I think this has got a tremendous amount of potential, right? Nobody wants to see new franchisees fail. It's the last thing that the brand or the franchisor wants. And being able to project out and see, who might be at risk, coming up, really, really is critical to the success of the franchisor. And being able to, link them up with the high performers, right? So maybe we've got a high performer in their region. By taking a look at this report, looks like we'd be able to, glean some insight and maybe connect the two franchisees and really, let them collaborate and reach success together.
Oh, thank you very much, David. We have about 3 minutes left. So we're going to go over some next steps, recap next steps and discounts, and have a little time for Q&A. All right, let's just recap what we learned today. What did we learn? Well, we learned how to overcome franchisee resistance, give things they can understand and act on, reduce franchisor effort, make this thing simple. This is not a software implementation. It is an onboarding and training. Boost engagement and compliance. Automate everything. Prove your ROI and scale with ease. So that's what we learned today. And everyone's going to get a copy of this deck, and we stand ready to ask questions. All right, what are your next steps? In the deck, you're going to have some hot links. You're going to have a private demonstration. Click that button. A Qvinci calendar will open up, and you will click a button and pick a time and date to talk with someone about the things we talked about today. You can do the second thing, which is go to a lengthy live product focused webinar, which will dive deep into all these tools that Dave and I talked about today. We have a learning center on our brand new website that just went live yesterday, which gives you all kinds of videos and FAQs and everything you thought you needed to know about Qvinci, but were afraid to ask. And then we have some special discounts. And our special discounts, our solutions consultant will talk about that, but it's basically 95% off for the first 2 months while we get you onboarded, and if you sign up by the end of the year. And that's a big discount. It's basically $5 a file and get you for the first 2 months, and it's designed to get you up and running, get you training, get everything working. So 2026, you hit the ground running. So David, we have a question here. I think it's a good one for you. It says, what has been the biggest learning curve for the franchisees and the franchisor through your journey with Qvinci?
It's when we go into Qvinci and look at the account mapping, right? So it's probably 90% of the entries are mapped. And every once in a while, you'll find an expense that belongs somewhere else, or an income line that belongs somewhere else. And explaining to the franchisee, why it shouldn't be there, why you need to move it. If it's a variable versus fixed expense, how important it is to get that correct, because it's going to affect your contribution margin, which affect, your break even. Um, you know, that's kind of been one of our ongoing challenge. Really the only ongoing challenge that we have. Um,
Okay, well, listen, we're about out of time here. We're just a tad bit over, so I'm gonna go over just a couple of things. I'm gonna turn it back over to Lauren. I have a document in here with franchise collaterals, which is a link to all these different collaterals and success stories to see about Qvinci. And I want to thank everybody for attending. I do have an appendix in the deck because we didn't have a lot of time to go over everything. A lot of different tools in there, but we're happy to talk about it. So I promise you I wouldn't go more than 1 minute over, Lauren. So I'm going to take it back to you. And sorry we couldn't get to all the questions, but we will get to you and reach out to answer every one of them. Thank you, Lauren. Back to you.
Perfect. Thank you so much, everyone. This was excellent content and excellent feedback from all of you. We really do appreciate it. Again, this webinar was recorded, and along with the presentation deck will appear on our website early this evening. You'll be able to find that at franchise.org. Thank you very much again to Brad, David, and the Qvinci team for sponsoring today's webinar. And again, thank you to everyone for tuning in. Have a great rest of your day and stay safe and healthy. Bye.
Thank
all
you,
right,
guys.
bye. Thank you.